Okay, I want to confirm that everyone can see my screen. Okay, so today I'm going to do a presentation on school culture assessment and equity action. We're going to be looking at addressing discipline disparities at Huffman High School. So the purpose of the assessment is that we're going to identify systemic inequities within Huffman High School's disciplinary practices. Our objectives is we want to examine the current school culture that we have, as well as the climate, analyze our discipline related equity concerns. We're going to be applying the cultural proficiency framework, developing actionable strategies for improvement, as well as promoting equitable outcomes for all students. The guiding question that we have is how can school leaders reduce discipline disparities while creating more equitable and an inclusive learning environment? All right, we're going to take a look at the school demographics for Huffman High School. So the student population, we serve grades 9 through 12. We have predominantly African American students. There's a high percentage of economically disadvantaged students. We have special education students as well as ELL. Our stakeholders are the students, teachers, administrators, families, and community partners. And the importance of stating these demographics is that it helps to identify any barriers that we may have, as well as ensuring equitable opportunities for success. Our cultural proficiency framework, and this framework is used in schools. And according to Lindsay, Robbins, and Terrell, culturally proficient schools, they value diversity. So they're going to be able to recognize that students' differences are strengths. We're able to manage differences, addressing conflicts respectfully and effectively, adapt to diversity. That means we modify practices to meet student needs. We institutionalize cultural knowledge. So we're going to embed equity into the policies and procedures. And then we also assess the culture. So we're going to continuously evaluate school practices and outcomes. So the identified equity issue that we're looking at, the systemic inequity is discipline disparities. The problem statement, discipline practices can unfairly impact certain student groups. And these are the results when that happens. We have higher suspension rates. Those suspension rates could lead to lost instructional time. We have a lower academic performance, as well as a negative school climate. So why is all of this important? Why does it matter? So whenever there's discipline disparities, it can lead to student achievement gaps, and it also reduces opportunities for academic success for the student. So our school culture at Huffman High School, these are some of the assessment findings. So the strengths is that there are positive relationships between the staff and the students. We also have strong community support. We have a good commitment to student achievement. The areas of concern is number one, that the student's voice and decision making is limited. The culturally responsive practices are inconsistent, and discipline consequences may not be applied equitably. The equity indicator ratings do show that there are low percentages in students being able to voice how they feel about student practices Also, there's a low percentage in fair discipline practices. So those are at 50%. There's a higher rating with student representation, and then cultural inclusivity, that'll be about 75%. So now we're looking at the root cause analysis. Why are we experiencing these inequities in our discipline? So these are some of the potential contributing factors. So first, we have an implicit bias in disciplinary decisions. So not always are we trying to be biased when we discipline students. Sometimes it just tends to happen that way. And so we have to pay more attention to how we're disciplining our students. Next, there's an inconsistency in classroom management. So that means that our teachers have to do a better job of managing their classrooms. Then there's a limited restorative discipline approach. So instead of always looking at discipline as being something punitive, we need to come up with more positive actions to help students actually learn from the negative behaviors that they're displaying. We also have student trauma. So our students come from a lot of different backgrounds. They have a lot of different things going on at home, and we kind of need to tap into what's really going on with the student. And then there's also a lack of continuous proficiency training. So we have to put more into professional developments to train teachers on how to handle these inequities. Additional data that we need to help with these causes is we would need the data from referrals from different groups of students. We would need the suspension rates of students. We also need to survey students, get family feedback, and we also would need attendance and academic achievement data. So if we were to create an equity action plan, these are some of the things that we would look at. Our main goal would be to reduce discipline disparities by 25% within 2 years. So the action steps for that would be to conduct a discipline equity audit, where we could break things down and look at all the different grade levels. We could look at it by race. We could look at it by male and female and just kind of see where the most discipline referrals are coming from. We can provide cultural proficiency training for all staff members, begin to implement those restorative practices where we're teaching the kids and not just giving them punitive discipline. Increase the student voice by forming advisory groups. I think it's important to hear from the students about what they think and feel about discipline policies. And then also review discipline policy data monthly. So every month, just kind of need to be checking on the discipline policy, making sure that it's fair and that it's even. So the responsible parties for this action plan would be your administrators, your principal, assistant principals, the teachers play a role, the counselors, and then your district equity team. So the expected outcomes of our plan. So it's broken down into short-term, long-term, and how we would measure the success of the plan. So short-term, in 6 to 12 months, as we would want to have an increased staff awareness of equity issues. So if we're able to identify those equity issues, then we'll better be able to address them. We also want to have an improved student perception of fairness, because a lot of times the students don't know what's fair and what's not. So we want them to be more aware of that. And we also want to have a reduction in our discipline office referrals. Our long-term outcomes, there will be 1 to 3 years. We want to be able to reduce our suspension disparities. We want to improve our attendance rate. So if we can cut down on suspensions, then we will have better attendance. And that would lead to improved academic achievement. It also will lead to us having a stronger school culture and climate. So our success measures, discipline data reviews, We can do surveys. We can check the attendance data. And we also want to take a look at our achievement data. In conclusion, our key takeaways for creating a equitable school culture is that we want our discipline practices to promote learning, not exclusion. We want to have cultural proficiency that supports the student's success. And then we also need equity focused leadership that would improve success for all students. We want to continue to create stronger, smarter, and more diverse policies together as a school to build a more positive and equitable school culture. And that ends my presentation. Does anyone have any questions or comments at this time? If not, I would like to thank all of you for logging in and being a part of my presentation. Thank you all so much. And I may have to call on you all again. But thank you so much for being a part of it. And you all have a good evening.